Welcome to Job Club. If you're in the webinar, toggle that to icon in the chat box from all panelists to all panelists and attendees to ensure we can see your questions and comments as we go along. If you're watching on Facebook Live, you are in view only mode. We're glad you're here. All right, Diana, get us started.
Good morning, everyone. We're so glad that you've joined us on this Tuesday with Job Club. And you are going to be expecting and receiving, no doubt, a very good job search strategy presentation. So we are glad that you're here. And we're going to share a little bit about the agenda that we have prepared for you today. So we will have the Job Club overview. We have success stories, which is really a very, very inspiring segment of our program. We have our main speakers, which we'll share later. And at the end of our session, we will be sharing some active job leads, as well as our planning partner updates. Then we will be introducing next presentation at Job Club. We want to make note that today, following our session, we're going to have an elevator pitch practice session. This is going to be presented by Queen Sullivan, and she is an intern this semester. And, you know, it's probably, everybody knows how important it is to be prepared. Be prepared to share your background and your relevant skill set at any moment when it could make a difference with you connecting with someone and creating a network to that job search path. So, but the biggest challenge is to do this in 30 seconds or less. So stay with us afterwards, and we'll have a very short but very, very instructive way to do this so that you'll be ready at any time and any place. Today's presentation is currently hosted in Zoom webinar, and our participants in the webinar can hear and they can see presenters. Attendees are not active on mics or cameras. So if you choose to participate, we have our chat box, and we would love for you to tell us where you're from and give your name if you want, but know that that will go public with the group. So we have that format, and we're also thrilled to introduce for the first time today that we're going to welcome those viewing on Facebook Live. So if you would like to engage with the Job Club community, then you can do this, use this format, and afterwards you can contact us, and you could receive our job leads as well as our newsletter. So you can register at, and I think we're going to put that on our screen right now. Our next slide. There we go. We have www.ukalumni.net/jobclub. So that's how you can register to get our newsletter at the conclusion of today's presentation. So welcome to those of you that are viewing on Facebook Live. We always welcome employers and recruiters, and they're welcome at any time at Job Club. So employer guest may have a speaking privilege to share a 1-minute spotlight. And any active job lead that you have that you would like to announce can be done publicly at the conclusion or at the designated time today. So just let us know that in the chat box, and we will turn the mic over to you at the appropriate time. We're always appreciative of those job leads. Let me introduce our Job Club facilitators. This is our team. I'm Diana Doggett. I'm the Family Consumer Science Extension Agent here at Fayette County. We have Caroline and Amanda and Nicole, and you're going to hear from all three of them later on in the program. So we love what we do, and we feel that the importance of it. And when you reach out to us, and certainly when we get a success story like you'll hear today, it makes all of our work for Job Club worthwhile. People ask why you started Job Club. What's the mission? What's the purpose? Well, it's to provide a positive environment for job seekers to network and learn best practices for the job search. We meet on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and you can find the schedule of topics at the same address that we just gave you at www.ukalumni.net/job club. Now, our current schedule is tentative, although we've got our fall schedule all set, so you'll be able to go online there and see it. But we are adapting, to the need during COVID-19, and that's why we have shifted to Zoom webinar format. Some people in our webinar are conducting a confidential job search. So let's please be respectful of the privacy of job searches of others. And we want you to check out our job-related articles included in our Job Club Reminder emails. So that's when you need to contact us and register so that you will get those emails. Please keep engagement in our chat box positive. We'd love to hear from you. We'll have a Q&A session. You could ask those questions anytime throughout our session today, and we'll try to get to all of your questions, but please keep our comments positive. And I'm going to turn it over to Nicole.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to first. I should say welcome, first timers. And that after this session, you will receive a follow-up survey. We appreciate any feedback. We like to place you in our notification system in the future. So welcome again. Welcome Facebook Live. We hope you guys enjoyed the session. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about some free resources here. If you would take time to review our free Job Club resource packet, which includes job search FAQs, Central Kentucky networking opportunities, informational interview tips, Lexington area staffing agencies, articles of interest for job seekers, resume review checklists and verb lists, LinkedIn job search checklist. And of course, there is a link listed here below. Also join the new Central Kentucky Job Club sharing community on LinkedIn as well. So there's a link provided for you as well. So let's see here. Success stories. Okay, all righty. Give me 1 second here, you guys. I'm actually gonna read this one. So I'm gonna turn away from the camera for a moment here. This success story comes from Mary Lou Wallace, MPH, Capital Region Coordinator for Kentucky Department of Public Health. And so she, of course, offered to share her story with us. And of course, it says, good news, I found a job and now I'm trying to help others. And so she's the regional director for COVID-19 in her area, and that they cover eight counties. Anderson, which include, I should say, Anderson, Bourbon, Franklin, Jessamine, Woodford, Harrison, Scott, and Nicholas counties. Let's see here. She has 3 positions available that she is hiring for. More details will be shared at the end of today's job club meeting. So that's great. So pay attention to that, you guys. After having exhausted Indeed and LinkedIn, she wanted to do something different. So she uploaded her resume to Career Builder. A week later, she got a call from a recruiter and submitted another resume and cover letter on that Tuesday, scheduled for an interview on that Wednesday. Accepted the offer 5 minutes after the call, which is awesome. That is awesome. Then she started her new position. She starts a new position next Monday. So words of advice from her, highlight your skills and network with the right people. There's someone looking for exactly what it is you do well. Let's see here. She says she's hired 3 people. Sorry about that. Yes, she's hired 3 people via recommendation. So she also says, spend time on your resume and submit cover letters to jobs you really want. That's definitely key. There's often a statement that says, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So when they're done well, the interview is just a formality. Really, really good advice. So don't get comfortable with the in-between jobs. Keep trying. It's worth it. Thank you all for what you do. That is a really, really great success story. And I hope that's encouraging to everyone in the audience today, as well as some of us who helped to coordinate Job Club. So that's a wonderful story. All righty. And so next here, let's see. Our guest speakers. All righty. So Our guest speakers today are none other than Carolyn Francis and Amanda Schagane. Okay, so Carolyn Francis is the director of the University of Kentucky Alumni Services. Let's see here. Sorry about that pause. I'm sorry, I'm having to look away at two screens here. Kind of getting used to the Zoom thing here. So Carolyn Francis is the director of the University of Kentucky Alumni Services Program, and she is a certified career counselor. She's also a certified services provider and a global career development facilitator. Oh, wow. Okay. She's a board certified. And she's a board certified coach with over 20 years of experience working with adults and students in all ages of their career transitions. In 2013, she co-founded the Central Kentucky Job Club. So talking about a co-founder right now, you guys, which is still going. Carolyn has an Ed.S, MS, and BBA from the University of Kentucky. All right. So of course, now we have Amanda Schagane, who's the Associate Director for Alumni Services. Amanda brings over 9 years of experience in career counseling. She's earned the Certified Career Counselor CCC and Certified Clinical Supervisor and Career Counseling CCSCC credentials for the National Career Development Association, and has served as past president for the Kentucky chapter of the organization. Amanda has gained the Gallup Certified Strengths Coach credential last year, and she earned a certificate in business administration, MSEd in counseling, and a BA in psychology from, of course, UK. I hope you guys got all that via Zoom and Facebook Live. As we mentioned, we've mentioned once, I'm going to mention that again, if you kind of hang around at the end and hear a little more, but I hope that you enjoy today's presentation, take something from it, take notes, ask questions. That's what we're here for. So enjoy the session, you guys.
Hi, thanks so much for joining us today. You want to kick us off, Caroline?
I'll be happy to. It's starting to look like fall, at least when we're driving around town. Decorations are starting to come out for fall, and it's one of my favorite times of year. But job search wise, I find that clients tend to really step up their job search efforts every year in September and January. So we've put together 10 game-changing job search strategies using a sports theme, which we're so hoping there will be some sports this fall, to guide us in our tips today that we're going to share with you. Please feel free to use the chat box with your questions or comments, and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can today.
So keep in mind, we're going to give these 10 game-changing job search strategies, but you'll find real success when you use them all in combination. So any one of these strategies, if you're using them, may be successful, but the more of them you utilize, the more likely you are to have job search success. Okay, Ellie, next slide. All right, number 1, goal planning and job search kickoff. I don't know about y'all, but I am sure hoping for a football kickoff. They've released the schedule and I'm so optimistic. We have to do that for the job search too. We have to establish those daily and weekly job search goals, work on our 30-second commercial or elevator pitch, stay after the regular job club session to practice that with Queen, our graduate assistant for the year, and order those personal business cards so you're ready to go for networking. Clients always tell us job searching takes longer than expected. And some of the data says that the average job search takes about 4.5 months. But I'll tell you, I've had clients be on the market for a day. I've had clients be on the job market for 2 years. Every job search is different. Every job search is different. Our best advice is that planning makes such a big difference. Don't quit your current job if you're job searching, if you can manage that. Okay. And then your 30-second commercial, I work with blank, this target audience, what problems and challenges you solve, and what your impact or your results are really important to include in those elevator pitch. We'll share more. And then for business cards, Vistaprint is always an economical option. I think you can get a pack of 250 for $10 on there. You do not have to be a design expert. There's lots of templates on there, but having a nice business card is really nice. Now, of course, in the age of COVID-19, we'll be sprinkling in some COVID-19 additions as we go along. People are still getting jobs. Our clients are still successful. So while sometimes it may seem in the COVID era that there are less opportunities to find in job postings, the companies are still hiring. It just may take a little bit longer. Is there anything that you'd add on that one, Caroline?
We always encourage clients to have lots of job search balls in the air. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. So continue to job search, continue to network, although it might look a little different now. Pick up the phone, call people, but do be open to remote work as well as traditional in-person work. And that will certainly help if you're open to remote work. Next. All right, our second strategy today is going to be to put your game face on and update your resume. So resumes are like clothes. They come in and out of style. We really encourage you to update your resume 3 or 4 times a year, but definitely when you're between opportunities, use the time to update your resume. A reminder, active and life members of the UK Alumni Association are eligible to submit their resume for a free resume review, and the link is available on the screen. We also encourage you to get feedback on your resume from recruiters or people that you know that may be in hiring positions. Share your resume and get some feedback from them. A few things to keep in mind. Computer systems and applicant tracking systems. Your large employers will use applicant tracking systems or computer screening devices to go through the mounds of resumes they receive. And a strategy on that is to use keywords. Anything in the job description that you have done or can do, make sure it's very clear in your resume that you have those keywords and that experience. Also, if you're seeing some common keywords or skill sets, then be sure you update your LinkedIn profile and include those as well in your LinkedIn profile. These will be things that can help you get through the systems. Once a computer has screened resumes and they go on to a hiring department, a human will likely only spend about 6 to 7 seconds quickly eyeballing resumes on that first round. So be sure you do not get screened out. Things that get screened out are misspelled words, too much text. Well, you want to keep it very easy to read at a quick glance, using bullets, sections, clearly labeled sections. Those will be strategies to help you get through that first or second round of reviews. Ageism on resumes, a few strategies to make sure that you're not dating yourself on your resume. First of all, if you're using an outdated email system such as Hotmail or Yahoo, you need to update that and go with iCloud or Gmail. Use a more updated email service when you're in a job search mode. Also, you need to keep the resume to no more than 2 pages. If you've recently graduated or if you're new in the world of work, you could possibly put it all on 1 page, but definitely no more than 2 pages. A resume is a snapshot of your most recent and or relevant 10 or 15 years of experience. In the fall, we will have a job club program devoted entirely to resumes. We could spend hours talking about resumes, but they are extremely important. And as our testimonial success story shared today, make sure your resume has the relevant keywords and experience that the employer is seeking. What would you add, Amanda?
I would add that in our welcome packet, we have a local area staffing agency list that we compiled for the group, so be sure to preview that. And then in the times of COVID-19, employers are looking for remote project tool management tools like Microsoft Teams, Asana, Trello. So if you have exposure to those types of programs, be sure to add them to your skills section or to softwares so that employers know you're familiar with them. All right, let's go to tip number 3. We got to play the full court game with LinkedIn. So in the chat box over there, let's get a little bit of engagement going. Give me a thumbs up or a yes if you have a LinkedIn profile, and no if you need to work on your LinkedIn profile or do some updates. So be sure to create and update your LinkedIn profile as you're entering the job market. Connect with your past colleagues, supervisors, and clients. I see lots of yeses in the chat box. That's very encouraging. If you're on Facebook Live. I hope you have a LinkedIn too. Be sure to get started on that. A common question that clients will ask is, how do you know if it's okay to connect with someone on LinkedIn? Like, do you have to have been a former colleague, or at what level do you have to have known someone before you can invite them to connect? And my general guidance on that is, if you're at the professional acquaintance level, or if you're looking to network with a group, then it's perfectly acceptable to send a customized invitation note. Always customize that note. And let them know, say, oh, we met at a conference last year, or I saw that you're a UK alum working at this organization. I wanted to ask your insights about working for this group. And people are more likely to accept those if you customize them. So if they're at the professional acquaintance level, send them a connection request. Be sure to join groups in your target industry and field. And if you join groups, you can often do more of the free messaging, like one-on-one messages. They'll call it in-mail on LinkedIn. And be sure to use the alumni feature. If you do a search for University of Kentucky or your alma mater in the search bar, and on the left hand you'll see an alumni icon, then you'll be able to search through your alumni database in terms of geographic location, the types of work that they do. You can be pretty specific about those, the skill sets that they're using, the specific company. So you could do a search. I had a client recently who lives in Myrtle Beach. So we did a search for University of Kentucky. We clicked alumni. We did a geographic preference for Myrtle Beach and professionals who are working in customer service and sales. And we easily found 12 people that she could reach out to on LinkedIn to say she's a fellow UK alum looking to start her network in that area. Okay. COVID-19 additions for this one, very similar to your resume. Be sure to include those remote friendly language underneath the location or as keywords in the summary or experience sections. Just like with resumes, recruiters can use, and similar to an applicant tracking system, but they use a special version of LinkedIn called Sales Navigator. And they can do keyword searches just like an applicant tracking system could your resume. So if there is special jargon or training that's essential for your job function or industry area, make sure you have that language on your profile. Okay. LinkedIn also has a really great job board, so be sure to check that out too. Anything you'd add on this one, Carolyn?
I would. LinkedIn is an excellent way to find people you've worked with in prior jobs. Often I'm working with clients and we're talking about who their references are going to be. And many times we just lose touch with people that we've worked with in the past, a past supervisor. And LinkedIn is a fabulous way to go back and find people you've worked with previously. Also, through the years, I've had a large number of clients that have had success when they've reconnected with past colleagues, letting them know they're looking for work, and that lead being the lead that pans out through a former coworker. They know your work history, they know your work ethic, they can speak, even though you may not have talked to them in a few years, they can speak, highly of your skill set and put in a good word for you from the inside. So that's always time well spent looking, reconnecting with our prior coworkers. Next slide. All right, strategy number 4 is to target your job search. We always say that 80% of jobs are found through some form of direct contact and networking. Very similarly, in a job search, if you know what you're searching for, it certainly helps narrow the target, so you can aim for that bullseye a little easier. When you're conducting your search and setting up search engines on various job boards, if you can list specific job titles or skill sets, that certainly helps. Also, in working with recruiters, that's another strategy, another job search ball to have in the air. Many recruiters recruit for jobs by industry or geographic area. So for example, there's a couple of national recruiting agencies that specialize in finance and accounting, Robert Half and Vaco. Other staffing agencies perhaps focus on manufacturing. So get to know what type of niche market various recruiters or staffing agencies target, and then reach out appropriately. Use some time on LinkedIn to connect with recruiters. Word of mouth is often how recruiters are found. So if you have a friend or a former colleague that's used a recruiter in the past, reach out, find who they worked with. As a reminder, recruiters and staffing agencies are paid by the employer, so the job seeker does not pay a staffing agency or a recruiter to assist them with their search. What else would you add, Amanda?
Oh, I think that's got that one pretty good. Let's go ahead to number 5. Number 5, play the field and work your network. Caroline alluded to this a little bit, but LinkedIn's alumni networking tool is really robust. So I would absolutely start there. That's the easiest place to start reaching out to your network. Invite them to a Zoom meeting like we are now, a quick coffee chat, 15, 20 minutes. We'll call that an informational interview or a coffee meeting. What that means is it's not you're interviewing them for something. It's you're asking them about their career path or their trajectory. So you may ask them about how they got connected to the organization that they're with. But always in those talks with who do you recommend that I talk to next so that you can get another introduction out of it. So securing informational interviews continues to be an incredible way to get job leads. The ultimate goal of that informational interview is not to source leads, but job leads always happen and come out from those. So reconnect with your past colleagues, supervisors, clients, vendors. Really think about your network and who you know. It might be your church community, your volunteer community. Maybe it's time to strategically volunteer to grow your network and your resume. So now's a great time to be doing some volunteerism in the community. Some of that can be done remotely online too, so that's certainly an option. And then finding a local job club like our Central Kentucky Job Club here in Lexington is perfectly fine. Okay, so if you invite someone to a coffee chat, you should pay, follow up with a quick thank you note, and ask them who else you should be networking with. Volunteer to learn new skills and experience. And much of the data that Caroline and I read, we read lots of articles about the economy and the job market and the job search, say that the hidden job market, as much as 80 to 90% of jobs are rarely posted and they're filled with internal connections. The research on networking says that the power of a weak connection, someone that I know that I could introduce you to, you wouldn't necessarily know that person, is how you get jobs. Okay, those employee referrals are an incredible source for talent with organizations. Okay, COVID-19. Networking is still happening. It looks a little bit different. Many of those professional associations that you might be networking with locally, where you would normally meet at a bar or over a networking lunch, are moved on to Zoom. Do not take that as an opportunity to opt out. You still need to opt into networking. And clients, time and time again, most of my clients say this is the strategy that ultimately leads to their success. What would you add, Caroline?
Yes, definitely during COVID, people have been very open to networking meetings via Zoom, informational interviews. I've been able to talk to some people nationally in the field that I never dreamed would take my request for a chat, authors of books. So use this time to reach out and enjoy getting to know people that might be leaders or experts in your field. Time well spent, definitely. Next. All right, our 6th strategy today is going to be to build a legacy of excellence and enhance your credentials and qualifications. Let's use the chat box feature here, and we'd like to hear what you've been doing during COVID to increase your skills. Have you taken an online class? What are you doing to make yourself more marketable during COVID? So flood that chat box with what you've been doing. There's so many free opportunities to take an extra class or get a credential. Often employers do not care if you've paid for a extra certification or a degree. They just want to know you have it. So many of the providers do provide those for free. Coursera, Ed.S, public libraries have some wonderful training. So please use this time. That is going to be a future interview question for many people, and some of you may have already received it, where the interview team will simply reach out and say, what have you been doing during COVID to improve your skill set? So we all want to be able to have something to share with them. Okay, in the chat box, we're hearing lots of good stuff. Some people are finishing degrees, taking time for informational interviews. Also, I want to mention that LinkedIn has a new feature on their skills and endorsements section where you can earn a badge in an area. So if you already have skills in perhaps a certain software system or tool, go on LinkedIn in the skills section and see if you can take a quiz and earn a badge. That will look very nice on your LinkedIn profile. You can retake it every 3 months if you do not get to the acceptable level. I believe they want a 70% or higher. They're challenging, but because of that, employers also will respect that badge a little more as well. We'll be anxious to hear from our job club attendees in the future as they earn badges and as they're learning and growing in their skill sets on how that's helping. So keep us posted on what you're doing in your job search and how those new credentials are helping you stand out. Anything you'd want to add there, Amanda?
I would add that lynda.com and LinkedIn Learning have a relationship now. They merged out. And if you go to the Lexington Public Library, you can get free access to LinkedIn Learning. I think the library system's paid for local folks to have access to that. So if you have a library card, pretty confident even online, you can get access to some of those courses that would normally have a small fee for free. So why not take advantage of those while you can? And yesterday, I tried one of those skills quizzes that you were mentioning. I thought for sure I could pass the one on PowerPoint. I was like, oh, I've used PowerPoint for a long time. Those quizzes are hard. So if you see someone with that badge, hats off to them. They know their stuff. So if you see that badge, it's a true testament to their skills. Absolutely. All right, let's go to tip number 7. Awesome. Thanks, Ellie. Quick photo credit. This photograph was taken by our very talented colleague, Mark Pearson at the Alumni Association. So tip number 7, carefully make those reference picks, just like you would at Keeneland with your horse picks. You have to be thoughtful about those selections and really study and think on who would be the best advocate for your skills and your abilities as it pertains to the roles that you're going for. Always ask their permission and if they feel comfortable being a strong reference for you. And you can coach your references and keep them in the loop on where you're interviewing so that they're not blindsided by a call. And it's always a good idea to share your resume and cover letter with them so they can have it quickly on their phone. If they were to get a call, they could put the call on speakerphone and go to your documents so that they're really prepared to give you a very detailed, strong reference. So always keep those references in the loop on what's going on with your job search. And references are a great pool to get job leads from. It's amazing how clients will often tell me like, oh, I was asking a former coworker if they would be a reference for me, and then they gave me 3 job leads. So you can't pass on those job leads whenever they're so easily passed to you. Anything you would add on that one, Carolyn?
No, I think that covers it. All right, our tip number 8 is play the business game and prepare for interviews. In the chat box, please share with us if you've had a virtual interview during COVID and any tips you would give for virtual interviews. Please use the chat box. We all want to learn from each other. You all are out there right now actively in the job search mode, so please share what you're learning from your experiences over the last few months with virtual interviews. We will again in the fall have a whole program devoted to interviewing. A few highlights I'd like to hit while some comments or tips are coming in that chat box is fortunately you can practice and prepare for interviews. With a friend, get together and practice. There are common interview questions. An interview will most likely begin with some form of tell me about yourself. And we do encourage you to stay on today after Job Club to practice the elevator pitches. The tell me about yourself question is just a longer version of your elevator pitch. So being able to start the interview strongly with responding to that question is very important. I encourage people to tell a little bit about their past that's relevant, a little bit about the present, and a little bit about the future, keeping it all relevant to the job of the hour. Even sharing why you're interested in that company, helping them see why you're a good fit, how you can hit the ground running, how you've done something similar can help them solve problems. That's certainly the strategy from the get-go on interviewing. In the middle of the interview, you will likely have 3 or 4 behavior-based interview questions. If it's been many years since you've interviewed, this is the big change in interviewing strategy. Employers will be using behavioral or situational based interview questions. Tell me about a time when. Describe a situation when. They are going to throw you situational questions of things that you would likely experience in the job. If you're dealing with the public at all, you will probably get some version of tell me about a time when you've dealt with an angry customer. How did you handle it? If you're meeting deadlines, you will get some type of question revolving around tell me about a tight deadline that you had to meet with multiple pieces of the puzzle involved. The strategy is to use STAR. The acronym stands for the situation or task, action, and result. So you're simply telling a short story that documents a very specific example of that scenario or that skill that you did in the past. So use the STAR when you're answering those behavioral interview questions. Don't forget to give the result, quantifying if you can, dollars, numbers, percentage. How did the situation turn out? Ending the interview, we like for people to be ready to sell themselves one last time at the end of the interview, with maybe leaving 3 reasons why you're a good fit for the position, and definitely having a few questions ready to ask during the interview as well. Amanda and I are available to members of the UK Alumni Association. Anyone can join for mock interviews. And we spend quite a bit of time prepping clients for interviews, for professional school interviews, and interviews at all levels in the workplace. So we'd be glad to help with you as well. What would you like to add?
Well, I'd love to pass along some of the tips that are in the chat. These folks have some great video interview tips. So one person says, beware of your background when you have a video interview. So notice we're all using virtual backgrounds for consistency. It's because I'm in my dining room and there's a stack of books behind me. So virtual backgrounds are a great option if the lighting, and it doesn't work with all settings. So if you have a lot of light behind you, it's not as likely to work as light in front of you. Let's see, Jill says practice with laptop camera angles, lighting prior to the virtual interview. Absolutely, that's an incredible tip. You might even try putting your camera up on your kitchen counter. I've had clients have some success with that too, because you want to have a good angle and you want your camera to be at eye view. Practice computer eye contact before your interview. Yes, I have multiple screens, so you might see me going back and forth, but during an interview setting, you'd want to look directly at the camera.
A tip on that would be to put a Post-it note right beside the camera on your screen with a smiley face on it. And that will help you to look at that and also remember to smile in the interview. Another strategy would be to hold your hands in your lap. When we're in person, many of us are animated and use our hands when we talk, but in the interview, it's distracting. So put your hands in your lap and maybe clasp your hands in your lap so you're less likely to use your hands during an interview.
There's a couple more in here, Caroline. Jill has a good one. Allow for plenty of time as the interviewer is also remote and has less face-to-face meetings. So there's some usually some get to know you in the beginning. There are no dangers of someone needing the conference room and busting in. That is nice. That's a good part of having a Zoom meeting. You're going to have usually less interruptions, maybe more distractions, but less physical interruptions.
Another great benefit of virtual interviews is you can lay out all of your notes in your resume, practice interview questions, responses that you want to, bullet points you want to be sure and hit. You can have everything laid out there right in front of you. So that's the benefit of virtual interviewing.
Jamie's got a good one on here to practice with a friend. And if you need to do a presentation, run the presentation through on a screen share so you know how to do that. That's a great tip. Rosemary says that she's had a few. Make sure you know how to use the video software they want you to use. Many are on Zoom, some are on Skype, some are on WebEx. So absolutely run a test call, a practice call with someone. Watching your body language. And it looks like some folks are still doing phone interviews, no video chat. And the employer talked, oh, it's a good question. Here's a good question for you, Caroline. So the employer talked more than the candidate did. Is it okay to do a virtual interview over the smartphone? Eye contact is difficult over phone camera. What are your thoughts on that one?
If you could use a desktop, a laptop, it is a little bit more, probably a little bit better to do it versus a phone. It's easier to maneuver various screens if you need to. So if that's possible, if not, a phone would certainly work just fine. And again, just practice, and we all are still learning the various platforms, but practice if you can, and then just be flexible and go with it.
I would add that the interview setting frame for video is probably a little further out than a typical FaceTime call. If you're FaceTiming with friends and family, the view is probably very tight on your face. But in an interview setting, you'd want to be a little bit further back from the camera. I think that would probably come off better in the presentation. Don't you think, Caroline?
Definitely. And certainly dress for the interview just like you would in person.
Mm-hmm. Dress pants required. And then someone is asking in there, are virtual backgrounds preferred? I think it depends on your background. If it's something that you, if you're covering up a mess behind you, yes, definitely a virtual background. But if you feel more comfortable with the virtual background, you go for it. Really, either is fine. Both can be professional.
A virtual background also gives you a chance to be creative or to put something on your background that would be of relevant to, of interest to the company. So you can show a little personality there.
That's a great point. All right, let's move on to tip number 9. So for this one, we're going to push it over the goal line and prepare a business portfolio or a leave behind piece. Let's talk about the business portfolio first. If it's appropriate for this type of work that you do, be thinking about what might be appropriate for these. What is something that you can show them as a sample of your work? Testimonials, work and writing samples, sales charts, statistics, thank you notes from former clients or vendors, CEU certificates, brochures that show your involvement in unique projects or community involvement. Previous strong performance evaluations can certainly be printed out and included in this. A 30, 60, 90-day plan. I've had clients have a lot of success with making a 30, 60, 90-day plan. A one-page document, quick, with your goals at the 30, 60, and 90-day marker for that position if you were to be offered the position. So a business portfolio is something that you would pass around to the interview committee while you're in the interview, or maybe in times of COVID, a digital version is a good idea. A leave behind piece is something that you would feel comfortable just leaving with them. So a business portfolio may also be a leave behind piece, or it may be something that you keep and you just have them reference during the interview. For a digital version, you might make your own website landing page or add some files to your LinkedIn profile under the summary statement to make a digital business portfolio version. Anything else that you would add on that one, Carolyn?
Yes. For instance, we had a job club attendee that had a marketing background. It was interviewing for marketing. She created a demo piece that this company could use, and it was beautifully done, that she actually mailed ahead, found out where the mail was being picked up and frequently, and mailed that piece ahead of her interview, and also emailed it, but it was something that came across beautifully in 3-dimension. So that was very clever. The 30, 60, 90-day plan, as Amanda mentioned, is very effective. We've had so many clients through the years that tell us that the interview committee said it was between them and another candidate. And when they shared their 30, 60, 90-day plan, they became the number one candidate. So just as a thank you note's important after the interview, having some type of a leave behind is also something that could help separate you from your competition. And you can use some time now during COVID, if you're between opportunities, to maybe start working on skill sets. Perhaps you can look at it as 3 skill sets that you bring with some examples of how you've used those underneath of it. All right, our tip number 10 is to go for the win and research salary ranges. Salary negotiation, this is always uncomfortable. Very few people, unless you're in sales, love negotiating. So you can prepare by researching market salaries on sources such as salary.com, Glassdoor, PayScale. You can talk to friends that are in the field and ask for salary ranges for positions. There are a variety of ways to find ranges. In a cover letter, if the job description is requiring you to list a salary range, then you really need to do it. If you don't, it's considered that you don't read directions. Ideally, if you have an idea of what the target range for the position is and you can hit that range, that would be good. When you get to the interview, in the early interview phases, sometimes the screener, the initial phone call from HR will ask, they'll give you the range for the position if it's not published somewhere, and ask if you are interested in proceeding based on that salary range. And I appreciate when people do that because it can save both parties a lot of time knowing upfront if that's in your salary range or not. In the interview process, that at that point you want to try to hedge the salary question early on in the interview and make sure that it's a good fit before putting out a salary and finding out. Use that time to find out more about what the responsibilities are, learn about each other, but try to avoid putting a salary out there first and let them come forward with a salary range. One strategy is if you're asked, ask them what's the salary range for the position. So turn the question back around is another strategy. By doing your homework and practicing, you can certainly become better at salary negotiation. We have a wonderful speaker this fall on this topic for Job Club. We're thrilled to have a speaker that will be focusing entirely on salary negotiation coming this fall. Others have shared in the chat box that they found Glassdoor to be very close to the salary that's being offered. That's good to know. You can recommend negotiable and see if that'll delay that conversation a bit longer. Anything else you'd add to that, Amanda?
Just that these resources, I wouldn't use just one of them. I'd use a combination of them because they source their data in different ways. Salary.com pulls it from job posting ranges, so you'll see a wider range on there. Glassdoor and PayScale, you have to enter a data point to get access to their data points. So while it's more dated salary data, it's actually from former employees, so more trustworthy in that, probably a tighter range. So really using several of these resources together is probably a good idea. Todd has a good question in the chat for you, Caroline, on this one. Is it a mark against you putting a salary question off until the end of the interview?
I think it depends upon the company and having that conversation. If they really are pushing you, try to give a wide enough range if you are not successful avoiding the topic. I've had another question come through the chat box related to salary. What if your salary is more than what this position would pay, but perhaps at different phases of our life, perhaps we do not want the responsibility that we've had in previous roles and are willing to accept less for different reasons at different phases of our life? Then in that case, I would put that in the cover letter that you're aware of the salary range, you're very interested in this position because, and just see if you can get to a conversation point that you're aware of the salary range and you're still very interested in the position.
There's some good chatter in the chat box on that one too. Feel free to read those. But
Awesome.
let's talk about tip number 11. This is our bonus tip. Self-care will help you go the distance. The job search game is tough, and job searching is not for the faint of heart, but you have to put your best foot forward and keep in mind your health, hobbies, your happiness are essential. because likability is a big part of the interview process. There's so many research articles that Caroline and I've read on how important those first even couple of minutes in an interview are. You have to express positivity and excitement for the role. It has to be obvious that you're the best candidate and that you want the job. You have to communicate that you want the job during the interview. But those likability and first impression data and research are undeniable for how important it is. Self-care helps you be the best version of you in that interview setting. Okay, COVID-19 additions for this one. Now more than ever, the self-care is extremely important. You got to get outside if you're in quarantine at home. Getting outside, getting some sunshine on your face is so healthy. Be creative and consider safe ways to have that social engagement so that you can keep your good attitude up about the job search. It's easy to get down about the job search because you're going to hear no more than you hear yes, but it'll be worth it when you do hear yes. What would you add, Caroline?
We've had many clients and job club attendees through the years that have told us, sure, I'm stressed because I'm not working right now and I don't know when the next job's going to come, but I have the gift of time right now. So we've had several job club attendees that have really gotten into exercise, have lost a lot of weight. They've been able to, do some remodeling projects. So it's been interesting to hear how job seekers are using some of this extra time right now that they've not had because they've been working so many hours. In addition, we just really encourage you to, as Amanda said, do what you need to do to put your best foot forward in any job search. Back to likability, one of the things that you can do also to help in that area is to read up on your interview committee before the interview. It's perfectly fine when you're called to be invited for the interview that you ask for two things: ask for a full job description and also ask who will be interviewing you. Study their LinkedIn profiles, see if you can find something in common. What groups do they belong to? Where did they go to school? What was their major? Try to find something in common so that you have some discussion points in the interview. And that certainly goes a long way towards likability as well. We want everyone to definitely take care of themselves. People are still getting jobs. So we are seeing that every week in our work. People are getting jobs. So continue to apply for jobs. Places that perhaps they've had a freeze on jobs for a couple of months are slowly getting jobs pushed through their system. So we are starting to see jobs come open on company job boards, and employers are reaching out to us with some job leads. So I really appreciate that and just want people to know to keep their spirits up and continue to devote a little time each day to your job search. Having a routine also helps. Perhaps you'll spend a few hours each morning looking on Indeed or various job boards, and then spending that few hours you have devoted that day for job search to tailoring your documents. And then in the afternoon, take a break, take a walk.
Absolutely. At this time, while Caroline's talking about how you can get scheduled with us, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We probably have about 10 minutes for Q&A, so we're happy to take any general job search questions that you have. Caroline, how do they join the association to meet with us?
Sure. UK Alumni Association is open to anyone. You do not have to be a graduate of UK. You can join the UK Alumni Association, and a benefit of membership is you can receive 2 career counseling sessions a year with either me or Amanda. So that might be something you want to do to help fine-tune your resume or practice your mock interviewing. Also, we offer career assessments. We offer the Strong Interest Inventory. We offer the Clifton Strengths and a few others. So these are all reasons people join the Alumni Association. We'll also have some fall workshops coming up that are open to the public that we'll be telling you about here in a few weeks.
Okay, I'm watching for some questions in the chat. I haven't seen any just yet, but we're watching for those. If you don't mind to click to the next slide, there's some information, Ellie, on there on how they can get connected to us. You can email us at ukalumnicareer@uky.edu. Okay, here's a question from Catherine. So when the online application asks for my salary demands, should I go low or high? They ask for a number and negotiable, like inserting a text option is not always an option, certainly. What would you say, Caroline?
On that one, this is where you really need to do your research and try not to go too low, but I'd also try not to go too high. So something kind of mid-range would at least get you to the next level.
I also think that that's a starting point, not an end all be all. When they make an offer to you, they're not likely to say, well, in your form, you said you take this number, so that's the number we're going to give you. It's just a starting point for the conversation to see if they can afford your talent.
And also, it's a competitive job market, but the employer wants the best candidate they can get as well. So if they come in low, then they're probably not going to get the best candidate, or that candidate will start job searching the day they start the job if they felt they were not paid a fair market value. So employers, turnover costs them a lot of time and money as well. Job searches are not inexpensive. So ideally, employers and HR folks, they really want a candidate to come in feeling good about starting and being ready to hit the ground running. Any other questions?
Any other questions out there? We're happy to take a few more. Jill's asking, what tips do you have for reaching out to higher education professionals for an informational interview?
I would use LinkedIn. Sometimes if you can't find an email for somebody, if you connect with them on LinkedIn, using the LinkedIn chat box is a great way to connect with people. Some recruiters, it's hard to get a hold of, but if you use the LinkedIn chat box, I find they respond pretty quickly to that LinkedIn chat box or the message feature on LinkedIn.
Also starting with higher education professionals who are in your alma mater might make that network a little bit closer and be more likely to accept your friend request. There's another question in here on how can we indicate that we want a remote only job? Some jobs are listed as remote only, but there's a new feature on LinkedIn where you can put your geographic preference as remote. Anything else you'd add on that one, Caroline?
Yes, I'm working with somebody right now who this job would have normally been in a city in another state. However, during COVID, everybody in this whole company is working remotely. So this is actually, it is opening up more opportunities for job seekers. Companies are open more than ever to remote positions, and time will tell if they actually bring people back to the office or not when COVID passes. More and more companies may be letting go of their office space and turning to a remote virtual workforce. So it's a good time to test out remote work. And for many companies, that's only how they're working right now.
This also works well, I think, for spouses. I have a client who they're both looking to move to a different geographic target. One person's gotten a job offer, but it sounds like they're in the negotiation process now. They may be able to work remotely from here while the other spouse is still on the job market. So it's possible they could move both employed. So COVID, it's not all bad. Sometimes it works out to our advantage too.
Absolutely. I had someone just last week I was working with that had been wanting to make a move. And since both partners were working remotely, they decided we're going to sell our house and move. So they moved to a different city, and it seems to be working just fine.
Oh, we've got several questions now. Okay, in terms of the resume, what if I have a skill that was over 15 years ago, but you think it's important to have it known now?
Okay, that's a great question. When we started our job club 7 years ago on the heels of the Great Recession, this was the case frequently, where certain jobs had been eliminated and sent overseas and were probably not coming back. So people had to focus on what they had done earlier in their career. And the strategy for that is to bring that experience up to the top of your resume and call that section related experience. So let's say you did something 10 or 15 years ago that's really relevant to what you're looking for now. bring it up to the top of the resume. And then below that section, you'll have a section called Other Professional Experience that will show chronology, but the most relevant to the target employer is at the top so they can see it at a quick glance.
The most recent data is showing that the first round of hiring officials looking at resumes, when they're actually, it's not an applicant tracking system, it's actually a person, 4 to 6 seconds. So we have to make it just obvious that you're the candidate.
That
Okay.
top part of the resume is high real estate. Pretend they're not going to read or remember anything below the top third of the resume. So that's where the summary profile section needs to really knock it out of the park. And that first job needs to be very relevant or laid out in such a way that the employer can clearly see your transferable skills, your relevant work experience.
I see about 3 more in the chat for us. Is there any specific advice when applying for a job in a different city and state that would require a move? I would add it in your cover letter, wouldn't you? Explain why you're looking for the different, explain why your geographic target's different than your current, and address it. I would just address it directly.
Another way to do that is if your position was eliminated, even on the top of your resume or on your resume for the position, position eliminated due to COVID or something like that, and that would explain also perhaps why you're looking in a different area. Questions come in about ageism on the resume. If somebody's worked for the same company for a very long period of time, how do you address that? A resume really is a snapshot of your most recent and or relevant 10 or 15 years of experience. So perhaps you only want to show that much experience on the resume. Perhaps you've had 4 or 5 different positions in the same company. Maybe you only want to show the last couple and not go back to your entry-level job with the company.
I actually think that would show a lot of loyalty to the same organization. So in the reframe for that, I think that's incredibly valuable. Okay, Todd's asking, when using LinkedIn, is a third degree invite connection too big of a reach? No, you can reach out to even further than that. If it doesn't even say they're a third degree connection, try to make a connection to them and they're more likely to accept it. So if you say, we're fellow UK alums, or I noticed that you're part of this group or this professional association on your chapter, I wanted to ask you about it. That certainly helps. But no, you can reach out to anyone on LinkedIn. That's exactly what that platform is for. Okay, it looks like this might be our last one for questions. Larie's asking, any advice for someone who lives in a rural area with no transportation? That's a tough one.
Yeah, that is hard when areas do not have public transportation or aren't near a lot of employers. In that case, I would look for remote work, gig work, project work, flex jobs. There's a variety of websites that focus solely on project work or remote work. We have some of those listed on our UK Alumni Association resource career page. But that would be my main suggestion, is try to find something remote.
That's good advice. All right, I think that's it for questions. Let's pass it over to Diana.
Okay, wow, great. I think we probably could have just kept on going. Such excellent questions, very insightful answers. And that's what you're going to get every time at Job Club. So we're going to remind you that you will want to mark those dates, mark those Tuesdays in the upcoming months. Okay, who's hiring? We have attendees that that do share job leads via the webinar chat box. So at this time, we would ask any employer in the audience that would like to share a job lead, please raise your hand, the raise hand function, and we will give the mic to you or give the chat box to you, and you can tell us about what is available. Do we have any job leads today? We want to encourage anyone that does have one that does not perhaps go public today, that if you'll email us those job leads by noon at UK alumni career at uky.edu, then we'll include those in our post-meeting job lead list. And everyone will get those this afternoon. Do we have any job leads? Anyone want to share a job lead today?
Diana, I can see that someone does have their hand raised,
Okay.
Shannon Johnson, and Ellie's given you audio privileges, but you have to unmute yourself on Zoom to have audio come through. Go ahead and do that now.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I work for Mental Health America in Northern Kentucky and Southwest Ohio, and we have quite a few job positions available, mainly around peer support specialist positions, but we also have a employment specialist position as well. And anyone can check those out on our website, and I'll put it in the chat box, but it's MHANKYSWOH.org. And you can find all those opportunities there. Some are part-time and some are full-time. It just depends, and they're in different parts of like there's different counties like Owen County, Grant County, and then Kenton County. It just depends on which county in Kentucky that you're in that we have available.
Thank you, Shannon. And we will have that information again in our job lead list that's mailed out later this afternoon to those that have registered. Any others? Any other hands up? I'm looking in the chat box myself. Okay. But we do have a good list that we have already have waiting and ready for you. Well, now is the time to talk about good news. And good news is certainly during COVID at least, innovative, creative ways to connect with the Alumni Association and with the Fayette County Cooperative Extension Office and the and the Cooperative Extension Service statewide. So I always encourage everyone, we're here from various counties and states and even internationally. And so there is an extension connection office near you. And I always encourage you to connect with that office. When we look at our page at the Fayette County Extension Office, you'll see all of our program areas. And our Facebook pages are really, really relevant right now. So if you want to know what programming, if you want to see some extra programming, that's where you need to go. And our website will direct you there as well. And during this month in the FCS Facebook page, every Thursday, we are featuring a plated up Kentucky Proud recipe, a complete demo. So this Thursday, it will be grilled pepper and portobello mushroom. And so every Thursday at 11 o'clock, just tune in, and we think you'll enjoy it. And as produce and all our commodities, our fall, we're going into fall, we'll be featuring a lot of those fall commodities, and these are really, really delicious and tasty ways to prepare them. I'm reminisce a little bit, but normally I would be at the state fair this week, and it's just a little bittersweet to not be judging projects and lots of injuries that everyone across the state brings to the state fair. But I do want to encourage you that the state fair is continuing, and today there will be a program on building a home composter. So whether it be a food or a yard, whether you want to dispose of that waste and utilize it later, there's some instruction for that. And then daily we also have demos on our Plated Up Kentucky Proud recipes. So check out your Kentucky State Fair website, and you'll see a lot of good virtual information, as well as the livestock and horse shows and 4-H projects. So that's a really, really good thing to do as well.
A few programs that are coming up we'd like for you to know about is the UK College of Public Health has an alumni networking event that's free on Tuesday, September the 8th. Amanda and I will have our monthly Q&A Facebook Live session on the second Wednesday of each month at noon, and you all are welcome to register for those. We also have a career management webinar series that's the third Wednesday of each month at 12:15. That information will be in the chat box, and we'd love for you all to join us. Next.
All right, hello. Let's see here. Of course, once again, I'm Nicole. I work in step temporary employment. And so I know that I believe we posted some job leads last week. I believe it was for healthcare, on the healthcare side. And so pretty much a couple of those have closed. So if you guys definitely want to visit our LinkedIn page to look for those links. A couple of those positions have closed, but let's see here. I believe it was a medical assistant position that closed. That normally stays open, or there are several out there that post. That's a position that's always needed in healthcare. But let's see here, some other job leads out there. We have materials management technicians for warehouse that are open. We still need COVID response team members for several different positions, screenings, weight finders, PPE protection. And even with campus now, we even are looking to hire some escorts for students, things like that. There are many positions out there. So what I couldn't possibly list them all. So what I encourage you guys to do is to visit the UK Jobs website, ukjobs.uky.edu for temporary employment specifically, and then click on the temporary employment tab. And then just scroll through there. There are so many administrative assistant for EVPHA area, web designers. There are many, many positions out there. So feel free to go on there, browse, apply. And there's a team of 4 of us. There's 2 of us that work in healthcare, myself and my coworker, Roxanne Ruth, and Team Campus, which is Ellen Wesenhorn and Michael Henderson. We all work together to help staff for the University of Kentucky. And once again, temporary employment is just a great way to gain experience and get your foot in the door with the university, but just gain that experience in general, whether you keep it here at the University of Kentucky or take it abroad. So I encourage you to visit that website once again, or the LinkedIn page. And I'll send any leads, as was mentioned earlier today, I'll send any links for new postings before noon so that you guys can see those in LinkedIn as well. All right. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask as well. All right.
Thanks so much, Nicole. All right, we're getting ready to phase into our elevator pitch practice session. Everyone needs to practice their elevator pitch. I hope you like the little comic that I put in there. Oops, I accidentally pressed the elevator pitch button. I'm going to pop the link into the chat box right now. We're going to transition over there in just a moment. And our graduate assistant, Queen Sullivan, is going to lead us in a great practice session. We're going to talk about what makes a really good elevator pitch, what content you need to include, and there'll be an opportunity to practice too. For those that join, we're going to offer an exclusive opportunity to sign up for some one-on-one appointments with her to practice your elevator pitch and continue to build that. You have to join the group session to get access to those one-on-one appointment requests too. Okay, next slide, Ellie. Next up on Job Club on September the 8th, Audrey Bachman with Training and Development at UK is going to talk about talent. What are your strengths and weaknesses? A question that we all get in every interview, and you can have some good go-to responses ready to go. So we'll be talking about strengths and weaknesses pertaining to talking talent. So at this time, thanks so much for joining on behalf of the UK Alumni Association, the Fayette County Cooperative Extension, and UK HR Temporary Employment. Thanks for joining Job Club today. At this time, we're going to close out and shift over to the Zoom link at the bottom of the chat, the elevator pitch practice session. We hope that you'll join. Audio is and camera, you need at least a mic. Camera is preferred, but we'd love to have you join us. If you're interested in saving the chat box with all the good links, you should have access right above the type message here icon, the 3 dots on the right, to save the chat or copy and paste it into a Word document. Keep all those good resources and use them. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next step in our elevator pitch practice session. Bye-bye.